moving northwest. Is that right?
It will move northwest, yeah. It will move out toward where Iceland is.
But is this something perceptual, or is this something happening over, 10,000 years?
30 days.
Yeah, it happens at walking pace.
It'll happen at a walking pace. It'll happen. It's not going to happen like, bam, the Earth is going to stop and the mountains are going to pile up. Those mountain-forming activities are things that do happen, but they're very rare and they require specific types of things to do that.
But walking pace is pretty fast, geologically speaking. It just doesn't make a good...
Geologically, yeah. One point, the best way to look at it, and this is the numbers that I've come up with from all my work, is about 1.6 miles per hour for a 1,200-mile motion in 1 month.
I have to say that fits. I mean, that kind of rings bells intuitively for me, for what it's worth.
We may have tsunamis and volcanism and other things that are dramatically going to increase. But we're not going to have a 3,000-meter super tsunami striking every continent. That's not going to occur.
What's interesting, of course, is that everyone looks at the psychology of scaring the bejesus out of everyone with these movies that have been released and other people who, for whatever reasons, might be being encouraged to come out with all kinds of disaster scenarios. It's a little bit of a misdirect, because what's happening is pretty important, but actually it'll be...
Well, actually, it's worse in some ways. If you have this I know from marine bacteriology, if you have a 60% drop in the ozone layer for just 45 minutes, any grassy plants underneath that ozone hole and the phytoplankton in the upper 10 meters, which is a benthic layer that most of the phytoplankton grow in the oceans, that after 30 feet or 10 meters, they'll die, and you'll have a dinoflagellate and an algal bloom, which turn the oceans to look like blood, and the grassy plants, which include corn and wheat, etc., they die. So what I'm predicting is, in a way, worse, because if you're outside and you're exposed to these, number one, you're going to get a dose of radiation. You're going to get X-rays and cosmic rays. They're going to be relatively unshielded, although you can probably shield yourself pretty quickly by the right type of shielding in a safe room for a period of 30 days, because it's not going to last longer than that. The Hopi knows this, and other people know it, that you have to be able to shield yourself from it for a period of time, which is why they went into caves. And they knew that the people that didn't go into the caves didn't make it. Firstly, because when you have high ultraviolet C, the first thing it does to you is it wipes out your lymphocytes. High ultraviolet C, when it goes and hits lymphocytes, your immune cells turn off and you can't fight infection, and you immediately die of sepsis within hours. Second thing is it will cause extreme burns. So they'll get blisters all over their body. And anyone exposed, of course, will develop cataracts and blindness. And any grassy plants, and of course a number of the trees in bloom would die. So a lot of the tree crops would die depending on the area of the Earth exposed to this before the ozone layer, which is a manifestation of the magnetosphere repairs itself, which it'll do. But it's going to take probably weeks for it to completely reconstitute itself.
What should people do you recommend, who might be wanting to prepare for this kind of stuff? And it's not going to be like a disaster movie, but they're going to have to do something.
I don't think that going and building a little non-rideable boat is going to be. I think people need to have food and water and be able to self-quarantine themselves for a period of 30 to 60 days. I'd say 45 days. They need to be able to stay indoors in an area, maybe even just a room, that can block them from exposure to ultraviolet light and X-rays and significantly reduce cosmic rays. They need to have a capacity to have filtered air, food, and water, because there may be things burning in the ash and so on from volcanoes and the effect. You shouldn't try to fly during these times, because any jet aircraft going when there's a lot of volcanic ash will crash, and any vehicles trying to drive will be hit with electromagnetic pulses, so you can expect that your vehicle is not going to work, even if you try to shield it. You're going to be dealing with all the other people that didn't shield their vehicles, so all the roadways will be jammed up, and unless you're off-road, you're not going anywhere.
And you won't be able to communicate with anybody, presumably, this time.
Regular communication will be gone. The only ones that will actually survive is what is classified, which are these fiber optic. They have special fiber optic lines that are actually part of the maglev tunnels connecting all the high-speed train systems all around the planet. And those will still survive and be fully functional during this. Because the great earthquakes occur on surface level, they don't occur when you get down 4 to 5 miles down. It's only very, very high-level earthquakes that will affect those. So earthquakes are primarily a surface phenomenon rather than down around, say, 4 to 5,000 to 10,000 feet.
But many of the telecommunications trunks are fiber optic.
They're gone.
These days.
Forget them. They're not going to be present.
They're going to be all gone. They're just going to physically break because they're on the surface?
Well, what will happen is the grid system isn't going to survive it. Number one, you can expect the grids to be gone. You can expect transport to be gone. You can expect medical services to be gone. You can expect policing services to be gone. Yeah. So if you don't have little local autonomous, what I call cells of groups of homeowners, at least 6 to 10 adults that can protect themselves from violence and have food and water, and it doesn't need to be very long. You see, people are going to think that they should flee and head up to the mountains, and I think that's very wrong-headed, and it's going to result in a lot of people dying, or trying to get into boats and float in the middle of the ocean and think that that's going to save them. Neither one of these things is going to be the thing. The thing that's going to affect people is to be able to have a place outside of larger cities where they know when they see the signs coming, because there's been lots of warning. Volcanism increasing around the world dramatically, major earthquakes. You're going to see strange activity in the sun. And if the governments are reporting the ultraviolet light, one of the best measures of the drop in the magnetosphere will be the ultraviolet light level. If you had an ultraviolet meter, say, outside your house, would be to see the ultraviolet light would be increasing. You may not see a difference in what your visible light, but the higher energy ultraviolet light will increase as the magnetosphere starts to collapse. And that'll be your warning sign as you see it drop a certain percentage to head for your safe room for the magnetic flux reversal.
When, Bill, do you see this happening in the near future?
I don't know the exact date, but I know that it's on or after 2012. It could be as late as 2019, but it's going to be, we'll have lots of advanced warning, in other words. It's not like it's just going to go bam and we're get left unawares. We're going to see volcanoes increasing all over the place. We're going to see strange climate changes because the volcanism under the oceans is increasing dramatically with a solar alignment with the center of the sun and the center of the galaxy, which will increase Earth's volcanism. Think of it this way. We have the black hole at the center of the galaxy sending out a plasma jet, literally with white holes reconstituting matter in our stars. The stars are like a gear system electromagnetically that are locked on like the gears to our Earth, and the magnetic flux fields of the Earth are interlocked with that. Okay? And so as the flow, like oceans and rivers of magma, flow in a specific direction, they create a flux field that is the polarity of our planet. So our planet is created by the polarity of the movement of a vortex in a specific direction of oceans of magma moving in a specific direction and a certain torus. That torus is going to change directions as we pass through the galactic plane. And as we do that, which happens every 3,600 some years, there are minor changes, and as we pass through it on specific alignments, those are greater, which is why it's 3 times that, or around 11,500 to 11,800 years, when we have a major collapse in the magnetosphere where there's a deposit of nanodiamonds on the Earth, iridium, which is an interstellar mineral that's hundreds of thousands of times more common in space than it is on the planet. So you'll see a layer of iridium, and you'll see carbon. And you can see that in the geological record all over the Earth. Plus, you'll see these magnetic flux shifts, so that even if a volcano is releasing magma, the ferrite, or iron, in the deposits reverse polarity on that 11,500 to 800-year cycle. So you can see that over and over again through the Earth, that those patterns are recorded right in the rocks themselves.
But this is what
so you can actually
Atlantis,
see
just going back into history and mythology.
Yeah, Atlantis happened. Well, let's put it this way. I'm going to make a statement. What happened to Atlantis will happen to Japan. They know this is part of their global consciousness. What happened, I'm going to repeat that so people get it if they're listening in Japan. What happened to Atlantis will soon happen to Japan. But what happened to Atlantis also, portions of the Atlantean Empire, if you want to call it, were in an area of Antarctica. They had outposts all the way through the Atlantic and right down to Antarctica. The areas that have fallen during the times of Atlantis, like off the northeastern United States and Canada, will rise. Also, other areas will change. The geography, there's a massive waterway that will open up between the Great Lakes and the Gulf of Mexico. And there's a number of intuitives have seen this. Well, let's put it this way, I've been there. And I can tell you that the geography of the future North America is quite considerably different than what it is now.
Okay, so what are you seeing in regard to the geography of North America?
Well, part of the geography is that there are major changes in ocean levels, and there's inland waters in the areas of the western United States, so parts of the western United States are now peninsulas and islands.
So you agree, for example, California will be broken up?
Yeah, California and some areas will be broken up. They won't